Welcome to the new era of American governance, where efficiency is the buzzword of the day, thanks to the newly minted Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Yes, you heard that right. The government has created an entire department dedicated to making things run smoother, faster, and, in theory, better. But as with most things in Washington, the reality is a little more complicated than the slogan. Yes, DOGE, like the meme dog, so efficient. Much government. The branding alone is enough to make you wonder if this is all just an elaborate internet joke that somehow got out of hand and ended up with a federal budget. Born from President Trump's second term, with Elon Musk's disruptive whispers echoing through the halls, DOGE's mission is to make government run like a well-oiled Tesla, or maybe a rocket that sometimes explodes. The idea was to inject Silicon Valley's move fast and break things mentality into the slow, lumbering machinery of government. The plan? Cut red tape, shrink departments, and show a lot of people the door. Efficiency, in this case, means fewer people, fewer steps, and a lot more uncertainty for anyone who actually needs government services. The philosophy is simple: make government smaller, and it'll magically get better. It's the political equivalent of cleaning your room by throwing everything out the window and hoping what's left is what you actually need. Think of it as an extreme home makeover, but instead of a heartwarming reveal, you get a nation wondering why the EPA's plumbing is missing, and the Department of Agriculture is run by a Roomba. The chaos is real, and the results are, well, let's just say, unconventional. The rollout was hyped like a new iPhone, promising to fix everything for the taxpayer. There were flashy presentations, bold promises, and a lot of talk about disrupting the status quo. But the reality? Disrupting essential services isn't like disrupting taxis or selling flamethrowers online. When the DMV closes or the Social Security office is streamlined, real people feel the impact, and it's not always pretty. The promises of a sleek, hyper-efficient government are crashing into the messy reality of, well, reality. Turns out, bureaucracy exists for a reason, and sometimes cutting corners just means cutting vital services. Turns out, running a country isn't like beta testing software on the public. There's no undo button when things go wrong. And the bugs aren't just annoying, they can be catastrophic. Sometimes moving fast and breaking things just means you end up with a lot of broken things, and a government efficiently doing very little except maybe making things worse. The experiment is underway, but the results are already raising eyebrows. So strap in as we dive into how DOGE's grand experiment is playing out. Spoiler alert, it's not pretty, and the consequences are just beginning to unfold. First on the chopping block, people. Not just numbers on a spreadsheet, but real lives, real families, and the backbone of our public services. DOGE has overseen a workforce cataclysm, over 260,000 federal employees gone. That's not just a statistic, it's a seismic shift in how our government operates and who it serves. These aren't just faceless bureaucrats, they're meat inspectors making sure our food is safe, scientists protecting our environment, administrators helping citizens navigate complex systems. Their crime? Existing in a system that suddenly decided their work doesn't matter. Enter the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Massive tax cuts for corporations, paid for by slashing critical programs like Medicaid, SNAP, student loans, and green energy incentives. The message is clear: corporate profits come first and the public good comes last. Medicaid, SNAP, student loans, and green energy incentives, programs millions rely on, are now on the chopping block, sacrificed for the sake of a tax windfall for the wealthiest. The Congressional Budget Office estimates this will add $2.4 trillion to the national debt, plus $550 billion in interest. That's a bill future generations will be forced to pay, all for a short-term gain. To offset the cuts, essential services are gutted, making life harder for millions. Public offices close, wait times grow, and families are left to fend for themselves. When you fire 250,000 experienced workers, you lose not just manpower but decades of expertise and the ability to deliver services people depend on every day. It's like firing the pilots and selling the wings to give first-class passengers a tax break. The plane might look fancy, but it's not going anywhere, and neither are we, if we keep auctioning off the very things that keep our country running. If this all feels eerily familiar, it should. We're seeing classic warning signs from the Great Depression. Aggressive tariffs, like the Reciprocal Tariff Adjustment Order, are creating market chaos. The Trump-Musk feud has put $22 billion in SpaceX contracts at risk and tanked Tesla's value. Small businesses, 77% of them, are rattled by trade policy uncertainty, making it harder to repay loans and access credit. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act's debt explosion has investors worried about fiscal sustainability, raising borrowing costs for everyone. Meanwhile, the tax code favors big corporations, stifling small business innovation and concentrating economic power. When the little guys can't compete, the economy gets shaky. It's a system designed to help the big fish get bigger, while the small fry get fried. We've seen this recipe for disaster before, and the echoes are getting louder. Economic misery starts when people stop spending. When wallets tighten, it's not just a personal problem, it ripples through entire communities. Main streets grow quieter, and the sense of uncertainty grows. Doge's layoffs mean hundreds of thousands have less to spend on basics. Each lost job means less money circulating, fewer purchases at local stores, and more families struggling to get by. Tariffs are projected to shrink GDP by 6% and cut wages by 5%, costing middle-income families $22,000 over a lifetime. That's money not spent on groceries, school supplies, or home repairs, essentials that keep communities thriving. Farmers are hit hard. Retaliatory tariffs have slashed demand for U.S. crops, incomes are cratering, and subsidies are a lifeline. But even subsidies can't replace lost markets or restore hope for the next harvest. Cuts to snap-yank consumer spending from the economy, hurting families and local businesses alike. When families can't afford food, local grocers and shop owners feel the pinch too. The Trump administration's shift of $250 million from refugee aid to deportations further strains agriculture, which relies on immigrant labor. Fields go unharvested and crops rot, deepening the crisis for rural America. Fewer workers mean higher food costs, compounding the pain. Shoppers face sticker shock at the checkout, and fresh produce becomes a luxury for many. It's a web of bad policy. Pull one thread, and the whole thing unravels. Every decision is connected, and the consequences multiply. The result? Hungrier families, weaker businesses, and a shrinking economy. The safety net phrase and hope becomes harder to find. Efficiency in this case means efficiently spreading hardship. The pain is shared, but so is the responsibility to fix it. The ripple effects are everywhere, touching every home, every business, and every field across the country. Overproduction is back. Businesses can't predict demand, so they make the wrong things, or things people can't afford. Cuts to green energy funding mean job losses and less innovation. Meanwhile, wealth inequality is surging, just like before the 1929 crash. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act extends tax cuts for the ultra-rich, concentrating wealth at the top. When most people can't afford to buy, underconsumption drags the economy down. Social program cuts mean less healthcare, less education, and less spending power for everyone else. The rich can't spend enough to keep the economy humming. Doge's efficiency is setting the stage for a much bigger reckoning. The administration's love of trade wars is a throwback to the disastrous Smoot-Hawley tariff. Broad tariffs and constant adjustments have created chaos for businesses who can't plan or invest. Retaliatory tariffs from other countries have slammed American exports, especially for farmers and manufacturers. The result? Higher prices for consumers, squeezed small businesses, and a global slowdown. Even as talks continue, the climate is one of antagonism and uncertainty. These trade fights are directly linked to rising costs, nervous markets, and struggling farmers. It's a self-inflicted wound, an efficient way to alienate customers and partners. The lessons of the Great Depression are being ignored at our peril. Bad monetary policy is back. Huge tax cuts for the wealthy, ballooning deficits, and a hamstrung Federal Reserve. More government borrowing means higher interest rates for everyone, making it harder to invest or buy homes. Political chaos is the new normal. Feuds, travel bans, and sanctions create global instability. The administration's unpredictable moves, like barring students from Harvard or sanctioning ICC judges, rattle markets and allies. Internally, forced deportations and funding cuts to public services add to the turmoil. Even the legitimacy of past executive actions is under investigation, fueling more uncertainty. Businesses hesitate to invest and consumers hold back on spending. This isn't the confidence that drives growth, it's anxiety on a hamster wheel. The Great Depression was worsened by political uncertainty. We're following that playbook, step by step. Behind the numbers are real people. 260,000 federal workers and their families suddenly without jobs or security. Local economies feel the shock as these families cut spending. Small businesses are squeezed by tariffs and a tax code that favors giants. Farmers watch crops rot as export markets vanish, and subsidies feel like a band-aid on a bullet wound. Cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, and student loans mean more families go without healthcare, food, or education. The emotional toll is immense: stress, despair, and lost dreams. Undermining the social safety net isn't just cruel, it's economically short-sighted. A healthy, educated populace is the foundation of prosperity. Efficiency that ignores people is a recipe for collapse. The cost of these policies is measured in human lives, not just dollars. No one wants a bloated government, but Doge's brand of efficiency misses the point. Government isn't a business. Its job is to serve people, not maximize profit. Firing experts and gutting departments means losing knowledge and creating costly mistakes. Deregulation and tax cuts for the wealthy don't unleash growth. They breed instability and inequality. Weakening protections and shifting the tax burden makes the economy more precarious. This isn't efficiency, it's ideology dressed up as prudence. If these trends continue, we risk a damaged economy and a fractured society. The echoes of the Great Depression are growing louder. True efficiency means investing in people and systems that build resilience and prosperity. An efficient path to ruin is still ruin.